Hello, and welcome to Croaky Mr. C's. That's right, I'm not feeling very well, but you know what? You can still teach on the internet, and you don't have to worry about getting your students sick. Anyways, welcome to Croaky Mr. C's presentation on equivalent fractions. Alright, you're just taking fractions that you know, and you're either squishing the pieces together a little bit, or cutting them up into more. All right, and you might go, what? Not changing the size of a fraction. You're just changing how it looks. Okay, it's like taking a pizza and cutting it into 10 pieces, and then taking those 10 pieces and cutting them up in half. So now you have 20 pieces, right? Do you have more pizza? No, but you have 20 pieces. Well, yeah, but the pieces are smaller. Yeah, that is the essence of equivalent fractions. I'm going to show you a little bit. But first, just ask, come on, who cares about this stuff? Why do we even need to know this stuff? Because sometimes it creates a better picture in your head. So sometimes it's better to think of 3/4 than it is 75/100. And when you know equivalent fractions, maybe you'll understand what I'm saying there. Okay? Sometimes with different numbers or with a fraction looking different on a piece of paper, it helps you think about it differently and actually makes things easier, even though you're not changing the size or the amount that you're dealing with. You're going to need to do this in order to add or subtract fractions. And you're going to add or subtract fractions soon, right? If you're learning about equivalent fractions, the next thing you're going to be doing is adding those fractions. So, it's going to help you in the next step. Make sure you understand what you're doing here. It's also going to help you to reduce fractions, which is really finding equivalent fractions. It's making big, confusing looking fractions look easier, or visually they're easier to deal with. Let me put it that way. So reducing fractions you're also going to use, and that's just finding equivalence. Just basically, just a general shout out. Knowing how to do equivalent fractions is very important. It'll help you with decimals and percents. It's going to help you do fraction work from right now until you're a rocket scientist. I know rocket scientists find equivalent fractions. Okay? So anybody that deals with fractions probably also deals with equivalence. Even if you're just cooking. Okay? Even if you're just making something from a recipe, a lot of times you'll need to mess with equivalent fractions. Okay, so let's get into this. There's one thing I want to tell you right off the bat before we get too deep. The word equivalent. Say it with me. Equivalent. Ooh, say it again. Equivalent. It just means equal. It just means the same. Okay? If I have a cup of Jell-O, a cup of Jell-O. And you have a cup of Jell-O, a cup of Jell-O. We have an equivalent amount of Jell-O. The same. They're equal. So whenever you see the word equal, you could use the word equivalent. When you ever see the word equivalent, you can use the word equal. Okay, so let's get into the procedural side of finding or creating or showing equivalent fractions. How do we do it? Well, you take any old fraction, and really the procedural side of it, that means what you do in order to create it, you just multiply the numerator, that's the top number, and the denominator, the bottom number. If you don't know that, you're watching the wrong video. Go check out my video on fractions. Okay? You multiply the numerator and the denominator both by the same number, or you divide them both by the same number. Okay? You have to find, or you have to choose one of the two. So, let me show you what that means. Or I should say, let me give you a quick example of how that might look in two different ways. Okay, so let's look at the fraction 2/4. If you know anything about fractions, you already might be going, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay? We should be thinking about that in a different way. And we will. But first, for purpose of argument, let me show you this. 2/4. Okay, so I'm going to take a pizza. I'm going to cut it into fourths. All right? 1, 2, 3. There's 4/4 here. All right, and I'm going to color 2 of these fourths red. Okay? See that? That's 2/4. So let's say I were to take those 2 pieces of pizza, I would have 2/4 of pizza. So let me show you how equivalent fraction, or how I might make an equivalent or an equal amount of pizza, but the fraction looks a little different. Okay, I'm going to multiply this numerator by 2. And I'm going to do the same thing to the denominator. Multiply it by 2. Okay? Same number, right? Got to do the same number. If you don't do the same number, fraction's not the same. All right? What do I get? Well, what's 2 times 2? 4. What's 4 times 2? 8. Yeah. You've learned so much. All right? 4/8. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's a pizza. I'm going to cut it into 8 pieces. And I'm going to color 4 of them red. You might already know what you're about to see. 1, 2, 3, 4. What? That's the same amount of pizza, Mr. C. Yeah, it is. Would you care if you got to eat 2/4 of a pizza or 4/8? No. It's just cut into different pieces. Look at these fractions, though. 4/8 and 2/4. You might look at them and go, whoa, those aren't the same. Well, yeah, they are. It's the same size. Just cut them differently. Whoa. It works with division, too. What? It works with division, too? Yes. So I'm going to take the same number, 2/4, and instead of multiplying by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. Ready? I'm going to rewrite it over here. So imagine we've got another little pizza underneath here. And instead, I'm going to divide by 2. Numerator and the denominator. Oops. Missed my dot. Okay. What's 2 divided by 2? 1. That's easy. And what's 4 divided by 2? 2. That's easy too. And let me show you what that looks like. Take a pizza. Cut it into 2 pieces. And I give you one of Mr. C. Oh my gosh! This is insane! This is the same amount of pizza. That's what I'm trying to tell ya. Okay, these fractions are the same. Look, they're equivalent. 1/2, 2/4, 4/8, it doesn't matter. Sometimes, right, when you have a lot of people, you might cut a pizza into 8 pieces. Sometimes when you don't have so many, you might cut it into 4. Sometimes if it's just you and your puppy, right, you just cut it in half and you each take half. But we use these different looking fractions when we have different scenarios or different problems. But really, when you think about it, they're the same. They are equivalent. They're equal. You can do it with any fraction. And I'm going to call on you to try it. Okay? Should I do another one? No? You don't want me to do another one? Fine. Okay? It's going to be up to you to practice and try this, though, because you're going to have to get good with this in a lot of different ways before you learn how to add and subtract fractions. Okay? Because when they have these different denominators, you're going to have to monkey with them a little bit and find some equivalents. We'll get into that in the future. Anyways, you've already told me you're done. Okay, you're done. You want to get on. Fine. Okay, I get it. All right. But let's, at least before we're done, let's talk about what we did learn here today. Well, we learned what the word equivalent means. We learned it means equal or the same. We also learned that knowing equivalent fractions is going to help you to add fractions, to subtract fractions. It's going to help you to do lots of other stuff down the fraction road too. I just think of addition and subtraction because it's the next step. But the better you get with this, you're going to be more proficient, or you're going to be more of a master with decimals and percents as well. So anyways, learn it. And to create equivalent fractions, you're going to do the same thing to the denominator as you do to the numerator. To the bottom number is the top. You're either going to multiply or divide it, and it must be by the same number. Say that. Listen to me say it, and then I want you to repeat it for me. You must multiply or divide by the same number. You must. Because if you don't, the fraction's not the same. Okay? And maybe after you play with it a little while, you'll get a grasp of it a little more. Anyways, you got to try it. You got to try this. I'm going to write 3 fractions down, and I want you to write 2 equivalent fractions for each. Okay, let's start out with one of my favorites. 1/2. Okay? 1/2 is such an important fraction to play with and to know equivalents for. So go ahead, see how many you can find for 1/2. I mean, it's kind of easy. If you know your times tables, you can start whipping these things out like crazy. Okay, anyways, let's go to one that might be a little more difficult. Let's do 5/12. Find some equivalent fractions for 5/12. And then I'm going to do one that you can do division for, because I think that we're going to use that with reducing later on. So let's do 6. ninths. Yeah, 6 ninths. You can reduce that one, meaning you can use division for that one. Okay, so find some equivalent fractions for each of these. Check with somebody you know who's a math master. Either find your teacher or find a buddy or your grandma or your mom or somebody who can help you out. Maybe back this video up, watch it again, make sure that you went through the steps the right way. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you can monkey or play with equivalent fractions to your absolute highest ability. And good luck moving forward.